Hello and welcome to One-on-One. My name is Elsie Godwin. On this episode, we're one-on-one with the Director General of the Nigerian Tourism Development Commission, Mr. Folorunsho Coker. Thank you for your time, Mr. Coker.
Thank you, Elsie.
Okay, kindly let us into the Nigerian Tourism Development Commission. What is this corporation you lead about, and what exactly are you selling?
NTDC, as we fondly call it, Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation, is a parastatal under the Ministry of Information charged with the responsibility of marketing both domestic tourism to Nigerians in Nigeria as a business, and internationally to look at improving our inbound tourism, people coming into Nigeria, not from what a lot of people expect from Europe, America, etc., but even just from African countries coming into Nigeria.
Okay. Yeah. So you said marketing, so you're in charge of making sure...
don't use the word marketing, we use the word promotion of Nigeria to both international and domestic tourists.
Okay, when we visit the NTDC website, you see Nigeria being called the heartbeat of Africa.
Yes.
Are we really the heartbeat of Africa?
Oh, come on. Listen to the heartbeat, the hearts beating in Nigeria, in Africa, and what is the loudest one you hear? It's Nigeria, and I'll qualify it. By population, we are the loudest heart you hear in Africa. By economics, we are the loudest heart you hear in Africa. If you look at many indices that have to do with even those two, a large aggregation of people, value, you look at their religion, their music, their film, etc., Nigeria leads in Africa. So let's not just think of, oh, it's not like South Africa, it's not like Kenya, it's not like this or that. In terms of when we're talking about the heartbeat of Africa, where the greatest concentrations and the highest values are across the plain, yes, Nigeria is the heartbeat of Africa. Are we where we want to be? Maybe not yet. But in terms of where we are now, in comparison to all the other countries, yes, we are the heartbeat of Africa.
Okay, so what is this Nigerian brand about?
Nigeria as a brand, or Tour Nigeria, the brand that we are promoting.
The brand that you're promoting at NTDC.
We looked at all the various tourism brands across Africa, Asia, and I'm sure most of them are common sounds we hear on TV. Malaysia, truly Asia. Malaysia is truly in Asia. Magical Kenya, of course, the animals are magical. So we looked at it and we just thought, we need to take Nigerians across Nigeria, more Nigerians across Nigeria, more Nigerians observing more as they go across Nigeria. So we started the simple brand called Tour Nigeria, which is a brand focused on domestic tourism to say Nigerians tour Nigeria, but also internationally interpreted along the lines of it would be good to tour Nigeria, it would be good to see a bit of Nigeria. Tour Nigeria is the master brand, and then we have the sub-brand of Nigerian flavors. So we have the Nigerian flavors of culture, tradition, religion, music, film, fashion, or everything you can think about in Nigeria, and there's a Nigerian flavor to it. So we say, tour Nigeria and experience the flavors of Nigeria. So that's the whole theme that we have.
So the idea is to experience Nigerian flavor
by touring Nigeria. If you go from Lagos to Abuja, there's a different flavor. If you go to Kano, to Kaduna, if you go to Enugu, Port Harcourt, each place you go to, you experience from the way the people are dressed, the predominant religion. You go into a restaurant, what is available to eat. I mean, you've got the baseline rice and stew, but you've got so many different things that vary and oscillate as you go across Nigeria. And we are so blessed with the waterfalls, the mountains, the desert, the delta, the rich rainforest, etc. So those exist as a baseline, but I'm even talking about the things that interest people that they send up and down on WhatsApp, Instagram, etc., as the forefront of what we're looking at now.
Okay, how successful would you say the Tour Nigeria project has been so far?
I like to speak in some of the digital terms that some of the people, I mean, we have hashtag Tour Nigeria.
Okay.
And I think the hashtag has about 13,000, 14,000 images. Now, when you get 13,000, 14,000 people who consistently post images and tag it, different activities, different locations, different people, it tells you that it has been adopted slowly, and hashtags are grown. I mean, it's not something that's going to go viral. They're grown organically. Tour Nigeria also has got to sit on a platform, and that platform is progressively been addressed, and that is part of what we call our roadmap that we're working with. And the roadmap is called Chiefs, and I'll break it down for everybody knows what a chief is in Nigeria, or chiefs. Tourism can only succeed in Nigeria if we have a solid foundation of domestic tourism. When you go to Dubai, what you're plugging in is just an international ticket into a solid foundation of domestic tourism. So the aircrafts, airline, the hotels, the transport, the shops, the entertainment, and hospital, all rolled into one. It's a solid domestic industry that you're plugging into. The international tourism can only sit down on that solid domestic bed. Now, the corporate governance and regulations, that's the laws and regulations that govern it, has to be right. The human capital, the people who have trained, how have they been trained? How much are they paid? In that transportation, hospitality, and entertainment industry has to be right. When I say right, appropriate for the country, for the people, in time and space in this location. The infrastructure, and when I say infrastructure, I just don't mean roads and rails and bridges and water treatment plants, etc. I'm talking about tourism-specific infrastructure like the tourism satellite account. Those things have to be in place. Also, you've got to look at what exactly you're selling, be it the Durbar or the Argungu Fishing Festival, etc. It must be constant as the Northern Star. If you say you're going to hold it at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, the 15th of November, it must hold. It must hold because that confidence that it will hold will allow people to book hotels, sell tickets, order things in advance, build a complete end-to-end package around it. Like when you go to, for example, South Africa, for one price you can buy your ticket, your hotel, your transportation, your entertainment, everything in one package. We have to have events that we digitally market that are rock steady, consistent in terms of delivery to the people. Funding is difficult, and funding is also difficult because of the laws that govern tourism. Funding will always be difficult until the laws are addressed. Let me put it this way: Nigeria has had a unique experience, great experience. We've had the oil boom. If the legal framework and the laws to explore for oil in Nigeria were not put in place, there will be no Mobil or Shell or BP or all the other oil companies that came then. They generate a lot of money. If there was no legal framework to change the rules and regulations on banking, you will not have the new generation banks. You will only have the old generation banks.
Okay, my question was the success of Tour Nigeria,
Yes.
and basically you've given us so many challenges, and which was going to be my next question. So, are you saying Tour Nigeria has not been as successful as it's supposed to be because of these challenges you're talking about right now?
Yes, it could have been much more successful, but it has not been as successful as it should be. Yes,
Okay.
I agree with that.
So what more can be done?
Address the things I have spoken about.
Okay.
The rules, the human capital, the infrastructure, the events and marketing, and the financing. Financing is if you don't treat it as a business, It is a business. If you don't treat it as a business and fund it as a business and push it as a business, you can't expect the returns from it.
Okay, if it was someone from the private sector having this conversation now, you heard them say, oh, the government has to, the government has to. But you are NTDC, right? So what exactly is going on? What laws are being amended? What laws need to be amended? What is NTDC itself doing to make sure these problems you mentioned are being tackled?
Yeah. First of all, I like the little comparison you've made that if it was somebody from the private sector who would be saying government has to do this, government has to do that. Wake up Nigeria, the days of which government do pretty much everything you want for you, they're long gone. You've got to do stuff for yourself. In terms of the law, we've pushed over the last 2 years the law through the Senate and the House of Assembly, and it's gone to the Villa for us for the President's assent. Fortunately, the President has not assented, and he has asked for certain amendments to be made. Those amendments have been made, and the law has, I believe, headed back to the Villa. So we presented the law, what is incompatible with the general policy of the whole country. We have been asked to expunge. We have sent back to Senate. Senators, I believe, expunged it, and it's gone back. Now, if the legal framework is there, we believe that a lot of those things will fall into place. For example, private sector participation in tourism, both locally and internationally will increase, and people will see the benefits of, if we can fund it, we can do deals that would allow and help us to fund our local tourism.
Okay, you mentioned the presidency wanted some things changed in the bill. And I know before now, so many key players in the industry have come out to mention 1 or 2 areas in the bill they are not very comfortable with, and they feel, I mean, even one quoted and was saying that it is going to cause more confusion if it had gone through the way it was. So what would you say are those things the presidency has noted and have been changed?
I'm trying to craft it in a manner that I don't say exactly what was in the letters until this is an issue of confidentiality. One was an issue about taxation. People generally don't like taxes, but taxes pay for some of the other things that we don't pay attention to that we need. Most countries that are in who have strong tourism industries, anywhere in the world you go, there are tourism taxes. And those tourism taxes are applied to the tourism industry. Where those funding is not available for you to be given money, concessions are given to you so that you're not static. I think the second one was an issue of conflict, in terms of conflict with existing laws that govern other parastatals. We cannot enable a law that treats us as if we are in a silo, we're in isolation. And of course, the guards of such rules are the Attorney General of the Federation, who must have pointed that to the President, who then said, you know, these items are incompatible with all these other various things, and remove them. Look, we all pay taxes. Nobody wants to pay additional taxes. But some of the things that were in the law would ask for those taxes to be applied, not in a punitive way, that these taxes are already being collected. Can we be giving directly NTDC those taxes to give grants, to do this, to a tourism levy, a tourism fund, so that if we see somebody that needs help, a natural resource that could be developed, etc., we can actually give support to those things improving from what they currently are. Again, a lot of people, some of the stakeholders were a bit concerned about the implementation of the law, and we assured them that the implementation of the law was by association and not by enforcement. Look, one of the things is grading of hotels.
Okay.
The world standard and the bodies that recognize those gradings don't recognize state gradings. You can't have Nigeria with 36 different gradings. So we say, well, we are charged with the responsibility to grade these hotels. We need to grade these hotels so that you don't pay $500 for a hotel bedroom in some backwater place, and you get there, you don't get value for money. That's what is killing our image. So we're saying, we're not going to force 36 states of Nigeria to subscribe to this platform to grade hotels. We're going to invite you. It is for your benefit, for our benefit, for the benefit of everybody in Nigeria, that when you pay for a 2-star hotel, you get a 2-star service. When you pay for a 5-star service, you get a 5-star service. And that is part of the image. I mean, you go online and see some of the comments by people who have been in some places where they've paid top dollar, but what they've gotten hasn't, been that. And they're global travelers who know what standards are and what they should have.
Okay. Is this a good time for investors to come into the tourism sector?
Nigeria is an incredible market. Of course it is. Because of the numbers.
Okay.
There is very little you put your money into in Nigeria as a global investor that you will not make money in. Look, put your money in rubber slippers. There are more people who are in this country who will buy that rubber slippers and give you a 20% profit than anywhere else in Africa. So our numbers give us an advantage.
Okay, we know we have the numbers. No one is going to take that away from us. But do we have the enabling policies and laws and environment to welcome these investors?
Let me narrow it down into tourism.
Okay.
Most of the laws are there, but what we need to take us to the next level is what we are seeking.
In the NTDC bill?
In the NTDC bill.
Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll carry on with this conversation with the DG. We'll be right back. Now, let's talk infrastructure. Most tourist attractions are located in rural communities, and sometimes, or most of the times, the road access and the kind of facilities around these places are not very promotable, basically, right? And then the common excuse you get, especially when it comes to roads, is that this is the state government area and this is the federal government area. So when are we going to go past this blame game and then try to make sure these places we want to promote are in a state whereby even after looking at the pictures and you come there, you can say, this is way better than what I saw in pictures?
Okay. Again, the framework that governs roads has to be looked at. It's old, for want of a better description. Some highways are federal, some are state. Over the last 20 years, how much has been spent on them and what condition are they in? Yes, it's a reality. Yes, it's not easy for you to get to some of these locations, but it's not easy to get to Saudi Arabia on pilgrimage, but you go because you want to go, because you want to see. Some people are also not about the glitzy, environment anymore. They want to leave the tried and tested road. They want to go on the, uncharted road to see something that few people have seen. I do agree that yes, investment is required, but it doesn't stop tourism. I think if we think about it the other way, that if we promote our tourism to drive the traffic towards those places in the present condition, I believe we will see the revenues that will allow us to be able to take the roads or whatever, from whatever condition they are, to better condition.
How about the attraction sites itself? I mean, you go to these places and sometimes the grasses have not been cut, it's not well kept, no one dared to give, because we've traveled, right? And we've gone to some of these African countries, and at the end of the day, it's not like they have something magnificent to show you. It's the idea and the story they are selling, and you just see what you have there. But it is well maintained. So who does the responsibility fall on to maintain these places?
I totally agree that some of them are not in a great state. Granted. They are owned by, you have private owners, who own the land, and therefore the asset is theirs. You have local governments, you have state governments, you have the federal government. NTDC does not own any of these assets.
Okay.
The responsibility to maintain your asset is yours, whatever category you belong to out of the ones I have listed. If you're not getting any returns, and you're not getting any support grants to maintain those assets, because you're also not getting any traffic coming to those assets, what is the motivation for you to maintain the assets? In terms of maintaining the assets, it's just not maintaining the assets. You need to package the assets. So if you've got a waterfall coming off here, and people have been bleeding the waters for irrigation for whatever purpose, so instead of a raging waterfall coming out down, off the cliff, you've got a trickle. You have to package. You have to control what is bled, so you have a nice head of water falling. You got to clean the pool where the water falls into, light it, have a sitting area, have a telecom company put a cell site so because people feel safer when they have signal. No signal is no go. Hotels, guest houses, somewhere to eat, some conveniences for restrooms, etc. You've got to create a whole package at a destination. Then start to cluster. What else is around this area that I can make interesting so that it's not just a one visit to one site, it's a visit to two sites. Oh, but then it becomes an overnight. Maybe you can locate a shopping center close by, etc. So it's a process that you need to go through. If you don't invest in the fruits of tourism, you can't expect, the seeds of tourism, you can't expect the fruits. And if you invest in the morning, you can't expect to consume the fruit at night. It takes time.
Okay. While you were Commissioner of Tourism and Arts and Culture in Lagos State, your team was part of the people who organized One Lagos Fiesta. And I mean, news out there says that you're very interested in entertainment. How do you want to marry this interest you have in entertainment and also using it to push tourism?
Yes, some great people I worked with in Lagos created the One Lagos Fiesta. Entertainment is a major component that drives tourism globally. People go to a place to be entertained in one way or the other. Festivals, to pray, to eat, to lounge by the beach, etc. The entertainment industry and the creative industry especially is so powerful in Nigeria and pretty much across the globe that, I mean, any tourism entrepreneur that doesn't look at the possibilities that this thing offers, the figures banded around by the film industry, by the music industry, by the theater industry, by the spoken word, I mean, cumulative, it's in excess of the IGR of some states. Now, can't ignore that, because if you look at a city like Edinburgh, Edinburgh has has an entertainment-driven tourism policy where they just have festivals. If you look at what One Lagos Fiesta meant, was five locations for 5 days, that's 25 concerts. What was the GDP throughput? What money was driven through the economy, both by the government contribution, the private sector support, to the grassroots, to the people, the cottage industries, the household industries, the small businesses that all came together to create that, from the sound, the light, the music, the makeup, you know all the things that come together to do that. So a digitally driven, entertainment-focused tourism policy in a city with a high population, a high density of culturally motivated and creative people was not a bad idea to pursue.
So talking about digitally driven, under your administration, NTDC has partnered with Google Nigeria for digitalization of the tourism sites. Now, does this mean we have the data we need to make informed decisions?
No, not yet. It doesn't happen overnight. NTDC had a relationship with Google before now.
Okay.
I think about a year ago that they helped us with some Google Nigeria and some of their affiliates, so some local training in digital mining techniques. And we now have a deeper relationship with Google Arts and Culture from Ireland. And there's an app, Google Arts and Culture. If you go to it, you see in very, very high resolution, digitally captured images, videos, and stories. So, for example, I may say the suya makers of Obalende, that's a story. I may say the waterfalls of Owu, the journey there, what you see, how it feels, capture it in such high resolution, short video, and place it there. And you see, the digital frontier is where both the next revolution in Nigeria is, and is what drives tourism globally. Images people see create the interest for them to want to leave where they are sitting, even though they're afraid of going there, but it attracts them. They want to see the real thing, then they buy a ticket, then they head there, etc. So I think NTDC's relationship with Google and as recently with Wikimedia and Wikipedia, I think it's that understanding that technology is going to disrupt every aspect of everybody's life over the next 10, 15 years.
What should we be expecting soon? What is the NTDC doing, like you said, to promote Nigeria as a place for people to want to come in and feel the Nigerian flavor?
What we are not doing is we are not going to travel markets to sell Nigeria. What is the point of going to a market to sell goods that the newspapers and internet is full of negative news about? Would you take your nice dish to the food store where everybody's talking about the fact that, oh, somebody's got a running stomach from eating your food? So we're not going to those markets. We're focusing on our domestic tourism. Let's fix what we have and package it in a manner that is easy for us to encourage people. You know, international tourism is just an international ticket.
Okay.
Everything that is consumed is here. Whether we like it or not, Nigeria is some sort of a Mecca in Sub-Saharan Africa. People come here to pray in a variety of religions, in Christianity, in Islam, even in the traditional religions. We have seen growth of people, especially from diaspora, coming, for example, to the Odun Ifa in Ekpe. The definition of tourism that everybody always gets is lying down on the beach with a margarita or whatever it is and having, you know, that beach, sea, sand, beautiful weather. That is not the only type of tourism that exists. There are many other variances that we fall into the same category as the sun and sea tourism that we must aggregate to say this is what we need to improve in terms of tourism. Okay,
unfortunately, that's how much we can take on this episode. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Coker.
Thank you very much.
All right, we've been chatting with the DG of the Nigerian Tourism Development Commission, Mr. Folorunsho Coker. Thank you for your time and thank you for watching. My name is Elsie Godwin.